So good morning, everybody, and thanks very much for joining us for this engagement session and information session. It has been quite a long time since we've all got together. That doesn't mean that the NSCF hub team have been doing nothing. We've been working on various things since the sense-making workshops, and we're very excited today to introduce these new initiatives to you and to explain how we're going to be moving forward with the next phase of the Iqoqwana Initiative. Okay, so I think let's get started. It could be a long meeting. We'll try not to go over time, but let's see how we go. So there's our program. So welcome, background. So we're going to be just going through a quick recap on how we've got to where we are now today, and a little bit about what's happening next. And then we're going to introduce the communities of practice. Sean will do that. Fulu will give us some guidance about getting your input on what we're thinking with the communities of practice. We'll take a short break to grab a cup of tea, and then we'll go onto the collection status tracking tool and get your input on that. And then we'll just very briefly discuss talk about the discussion forum. So the purpose of today's session is really to introduce the NSCF community to the next phase of the Iqoqwana Initiative. So we've got two main things that we're going to be introducing: the communities of practice and the collection status tracking tool. So we're going to introduce them, but we also want to get some input from you on our planned or our proposed approach for the communities of practice and the tracking tool. And we just want to engage with the community about our next steps going forward. So just a quick reminder about the Iqoqwana Initiative. So two of the NSCF's main objectives are to secure the collections and then make them and the associated data accessible for research and decision-making that benefits society. So that's what we've agreed to do it's almost 10 years ago now. And over the last 5 years, we've developed that collection management and conservation manual. That was done as a community. Then we had the 18-month-long virtual training course. We've had some data management training from Ian, and Mashlatsi helped people with their data workflows. And the NSCF has also invested in equipment and storage infrastructure and consumables. So there's been a lot going on over the last 5 years. And then we realized that it was important to know the status of the collection management and curation practices and standards. So after the last assessment had been done in 2010, 2011, it had been a long time with lots of activities and investment, and we needed to know what was happening. And so that's why we launched the Iqoqwana Initiative. And in 2023, we had the collections assessment. So that was a moderated self-assessment process that most of you would have been involved in some way. And that collections assessment was meant as a catalyst for the implementation process of the manual, so to encourage institutions and staff to implement the standards and practices in the manual. But it was also intended to be a learning process and to strengthen our network. So it wasn't just doing a report. It was much broader than that. And it was not the end point. I think I've said several times before, that wasn't just a thing that happened on its own. It was really one step, maybe the first step in a whole journey. And so now we're taking the next steps of the journey. So this has been our journey so far, and it's had lots of milestones along the way. So we're really September and October 22, we sort of launched the concept of the elections assessment. And then we had our forum in October 22, where we also discussed the collections assessment. And then we developed the self-assessment tool, and we got some further input, and then trialed that online self-assessment questionnaire in January. In March, we had orientation workshops around the country to explain how the self-assessment and moderation would work and about the documents. And then you all did your self-assessments in March and April last year in 2023. Then we had moderation of the self-assessments in May and June 23. Then we spent a lot of time as the hub team doing the analysis of the data. So that was July until November. Report for each collection, and then one for each institution as well. And that was from November 23 to February 24. And then in December 23, we had a meeting with the directors to explain about the feedback and to discuss it with them. And then we released the feedback to everybody at the beginning of this year. And then we had sense-making workshops as well. And then we did a final overall report that covers all our findings from the assessment across all the institutions and collections. And that was distributed just recently. And now we've been working on the communities of practice and the collection status tracking tool. So it's been a long journey, but we're still going on with our journey. So what's next? Okay, so now we've finalized and we've distributed the feedback. We've had the sense-making workshops. What's next? So what we realized is that there's definitely a need, and it came out from the sense-making workshops as well, but also just looking at the data and the feedback. We need ongoing support for improving practice and standards in collection management and curation. But we've had our course. We don't want to offer another course, the same thing again. We think that it'll be much more beneficial to work together as a community. So that's the community of practice, and Sean will be telling us about that. We also understand that since we did that assessment, so since the moderation May, June into July 2023, most of the institutions have been working on addressing the gaps that were identified in the feedback. And there were questions that came out in the sense-making workshops. Well, that feedback's not accurate anymore, because since you did that moderation, we've now done a whole lot more documents, or we've rearranged things, or we've upgraded things. And do we have to wait another 5 years before you do another assessment for us to get the recognition? And so what came out of that was that it would be good to have like a continuing tracking tool. So that's an important way of providing motivation to keep addressing the gaps, and also to recognize the efforts that people are putting in. So Christian will be telling us about the tracking tool, and they'll be showing you an example of how it's going to work. And then we've also seen the value of having the WhatsApp group for asking the community for advice on collection management and curation. So I think people have found that very valuable. Who's the supplier for this? You know, if I should do it like this or like that, and the community answers, and it's very, very valuable. But what happens with WhatsApp, you know that you lose, at some point you lose all the information that's there. And that seemed like a bit of a waste for us. So we wanted a place where we can continue that kind of engagement, but where it can be kept, where it's retained permanently. And so we've been working on, or Fulu's been doing quite a lot of work on an online discussion forum, but we've got some struggles. So it's still a work in progress, and we'll come back to you on that. So that's what's happening next. Community of practice, tracking tool, and a discussion forum. Okay, and I'll hand over to Sean. He's been working on the concept and implementation plan for the communities of practice. So over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. Morning once again, colleagues. Before we dive into what communities of practice actually are, I'd like to just have you go to or read some of these questions and just keep in the back of your mind as we go through the presentation. Do you know what a community of practice is? Side note, you don't have to answer any of these questions now. It's just for you to retain at the back of your mind. What are you hoping to gain from being a part of this community of practice? What specific topics or issues are you most interested in exploring within this community? And is there a particular person or type of expertise you're looking to connect within this community? So what is a community of practice? This concept was first introduced in 1921 by Jean Levay and Etienne Wenger as a method to understand learning within the workplace. Etienne Wenger then later defined it as communities of practice are groups of people who share concern or passion for something they do and learn how to do it better. So just a bit of background and why. It's to provide a platform for sharing best practices and knowledge, to provide opportunities for networking amongst individuals, and to enable discussions and solutions for issues through collaborative approaches. And as with any and all NSCF-related activities and initiatives, these are guided by the NSCF values, being recognizing the African context and heritage, honesty and principles, inclusivity, excellence and professionalism, open access and transformative processes. And the main reasons behind our establishment for this community of practice and the development thereof is, again, to facilitate the sharing of knowledge and understanding amongst institutions and individuals, their skills and best practices, to learn from one another and provide support to participants, and to establish community of support for answering questions and solving problems and issues. So a couple of months back, during the sense-making workshops, we heard these two new terms, rhizomatic learning and mycorrhizal networks, or as Ilse and Des call it, the Wood Wide Web. And the communities of practice, I'm going to be referring to it as the COPs for shorter, or abbreviated, reflect rhizomatic learning through flexible non-linear exploration and organic knowledge sharing. And some of the key aspects that I thought relates very well to the COPs is as follows: decentralization, meaning that there's no hierarchical structure. Learning can happen anywhere in the network and community during any part of the session, at any point in the session, and can go in direction within the session or over the extent of the communities of practice. Adaptability, which basically allows the community to be flexible and change and adjust its learning as new information comes to light, and reflect the dynamic nature of knowledge as it is. It's very community-driven, or learning rather is community-driven, thus empowering members to control their own learning journey and decide what and how to learn. So it speaks a lot to accountability for yourself. Connection and community, with the emphasis being placed on building relationships both within the community and possibly beyond as the knowledge web expands and extends. And I think the coolest part for me about all of this is the emergence, where new insights and knowledge naturally develop through the learning process. And it's not really dictated or predetermined by external authorities, and there's no predetermined or predefined outcomes set on it. In terms of mycorrhizal networks relating to the COPs, I think it's a very powerful metaphor for sort of comparing and speaking to the COPs. The mycorrhizal networks metaphorically show how individuals connect and collaborate and support each other's growth and development. And some of the key aspects from this concept are as follows as well. Symbiosis, like the fungi and the plant root systems interact. The community members collaborate, share knowledge, skills, and resources. And this benefits both individuals and the community at large. The communication and resource sharing again speaks to the previous point, where mycorrhizal networks exchange information and resources through pathways, much like the COPs, will facilitate the sharing of ideas, expertise, and support to address challenges and solve problems. Diversity and inclusion, where mycorrhizal networks again connect diverse plant species, similar to how the COPs will unite various institutions and individual aspects to enhance innovation and resilience through various and diverse viewpoints. And much like the mycorrhizal networks maintain and support ecosystem health and sustainability, a thriving COP system or community sustains its members through continuous learning of the manual mostly, mutual support, adaptability, and ensures long-term viability and success. So who will be part of this community of practice? Essentially, it's open to all interested staff working in and with natural science collections at any and all levels of expertise. So whether you are a junior staff member, a senior staff member, middle management, you are all welcome to attend and take part. So you might also ask, what is the hub's role or place within this community? So essentially, we'll just be coordinating and making arrangements for the COP sessions, but we'll also be taking part in the sessions as members of the community. The broader community at large will contribute to these sessions by presenting and leading on discussions. Members are encouraged to present on and share their experiences of the collections assessment and moderation process, the challenges they faced, their failures, their successes, and this will be followed by meaningful discussions with the rest of the community present. Members from all levels of expertise are again encouraged to actively participate in the sessions to share their knowledge and best practices so that we can all benefit and learn from one another. So how will this all be taking place? In terms of the format in the sessions, the COPs will meet virtually via Zoom and in person. And at present, the proposed frequency will be twice monthly with additional sessions as needed. The reasons for this is by meeting so often, we hope that institutions and individuals will naturally incorporate these sessions into their work, routine and culture, and thus foster the development of new insights and encouraging innovation. More frequent sessions may also help build camaraderie, foster trust, mutual support, and a sense of belonging amongst the members and participants. This may also lead to stronger collaboration and a more cohesive community. These frequent sessions may also help maintain momentum within the community and also ensure ongoing engagement. In terms of duration, the virtual sessions will last about 2 hours. With the in-person sessions, generally, we're expecting it to last more than 2 hours. Regional in-person COP sessions may take place to showcase a variety of collection-related activities, hands-on skills, but also the progress made in developing and improving your collection status. Most importantly, sessions will not be recorded. This then takes us to the next point, or the next set of points rather, which speak to the records of what's being shared during sessions. Again, no formal minutes or notes will be taken during sessions. This just refers to the previous point of sessions not being recorded. Although participants are encouraged to take their own notes during sessions. Presentations and other records such as digital whiteboards will be shared, either for review or just for discussion. And as mentioned by Michelle, the discussion forum is not up and running at the moment. So the NSCF WhatsApp group will be used as the alternative channel for topics to be discussed, for people to ask questions and engage with one another as well. So in terms of communication, as I said before, there are a few channels that we've identified, namely the NSCF WhatsApp group currently, the electronic mailing list for the NSCF as well, and the discussion forum, which once it becomes available, we will then make use of. So how do we assess whether it's actually working? I bet most of you have probably cringed when you saw the word audits. I know I cringe as well. But of course, this won't be the case. It's basically just a joke. I don't think anyone would like to be audited, nor like taking part in them either. So instead of us assessing the COP, which is really hardcore, really, we won't be doing any of that really. So there won't be any audits, there won't be any assignments or tests. This is not a course that you'll be attending. This is not a lecture. It's a community for us to share knowledge and learn from each other. Also, we are total newbies at this, most of us rather. So as a community, we'll periodically reflect on how well it's working from time to time, and then see if changes are needed. And just to reiterate again, this community only works if everyone is involved and actively taking part. So how do we keep this going? How do we sustain it? I like to think of a COP at the moment as an infant It's in its infancy. So it requires nurturing beyond this initial phase of implementation. Institutions are encouraged to include attendance of the COP sessions in staff work plans and performance agreements, with the goal of embedding these sessions into the work culture and making them a standard part of both institutions and staff's work plan. This sort of approach could significantly support the recommended actions from the collection assessment feedback, especially for those staff members working in and who are responsible for those areas of work. Such involvement also has the potential to break down the walls and barriers between the institutions and individuals and further encourage collaboration. And again, the success of the COP depends on the active involvement of institutions and individuals. So provisionally, we've set this schedule for the next few months. The topics that you see presented, they are not set in stone. These are merely the topics or the issues that emerged as needing intervention from the overall collections feedback or collections assessment feedback. There's a break during the December-January period because we've realized that staff members do take leave to spend time with their families and things during that time. So we're just respecting that. So once the January period is over, we'll just continue with the COP sessions in Feb. Now, another point on the schedule, like I said, it's not set in stone. Should the community feel that they do not wish or they wish to change the schedule a bit and discuss something else, we are inviting and encouraging members to share their experiences, again, of the collections assessment, but also how they've managed to score that green, you know, making that orange a green, how they've essentially scored 100%, or at least more than 80% in their assessment feedback, the challenges they may have faced, the failures they've experienced, and the successes being, you know, that green color that we want so much. And then just to bring that experience across to the community, where after we will then have an open discussion. So the sessions won't be a lecture, like I said, there won't be one-way talks. I won't be facilitating or having long presentations. It'll be the community discussing these issues amongst themselves and dealing with it in that way. So it's a much more consultative discussion session. Towards the end of every session, however, we will be deciding on what to discuss in the next session by means of a poll. So that's more or less how it's going to work. So this beautiful piece of artwork is just something I thought I would leave with you guys before you move on to the tracking tool section of this presentation. And these are just some messages that comes out of the communities of practice, what it is, how it looks, how it's meant to look, how we would like it to look. I do hope that you take this in, process it, and come back with some positive feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Such a comprehensive presentation. I'm sure everyone can now understand what will be expected of them and what's going to be happening. So everyone, in order for us to just reflect and to just check in with ourselves whether we really did get some gist about what's going to be happening in terms of the communities of practice, we felt that we should get your input, and we'll get your input using the whiteboard. So Chanel is going to open the whiteboard, but these are the questions that you will be working with. So the first one is there anything that you think you would struggle with in participating? So anything that you can think of currently that might be hindering you or that might be a threat to your participation in the communities of practice. You don't have to think too much about it. Whatever comes to you now, you don't have to think about the process, what's going to be involved, all those things. Just whatever is coming to you currently. The second one is, how do you think you would benefit as individuals from or as an individual from the communities of practice participation? So that one thing that you think is a benefit for you, you're not thinking about the institution, you're not thinking about your colleagues, you're thinking about yourself. You'll just put that down. If you have more than one, feel free to share more than one. And then the final question is, what excites you about the communities of practice? And you'll also put that down. So Chanel, can you please take us to the whiteboard? I'm just going to explain how it works, and then we can get started. All right, so on the screen, we have the whiteboard. Now, how it works is you have all those tools that you can use on the far left, on your far left. So you can either click on select, you can either use the pen, there's a shape, and all those things. But what we are looking for now to use, what you're going to use today, is the sticky notes, right? So you can take the sticky note and select on it, and you're going to choose a color that you prefer, and then you click once on it, and then you write. Whatever that you write, you can then afterwards just make sure that you move it a bit, and you can place it where it needs to go. You need to move it just because when everyone is working all at the same time, they can pile up on one, and we can't really see how many are there or what they are saying. So just move it around a bit just to place it where you want it to sit. You can also adjust the size of your sticky note to make it smaller or to make it a little bigger, but it's better to just make it a bit smaller, but still visible. A bit smaller just so that everyone can fit into the page or into that section. And I think that is it. We can already see some action going, and so you can get started. You can start with whatever question that you prefer to start with, and just place it where it needs to go under that specific question that you're addressing. Is there anyone who needs some clarity? Was that clear? Do you know what to do? If you don't, let us know on the chat so we can address that. Or you can even just shout while everyone is busy.
And if you're really struggling and you can't type on here, you're welcome just to put your comment in the chat.
Yes. Okay. Lots of action going there. Oh, I see one is saying September is already full with conferences. So that's a struggle for them. Thank you for sharing that. Internet interruptions. Okay. Other possible work commitments. But I'm sure some of these things we can we can work around. Time and technical issues again, I see. Oh, here's an interesting one. Some of the decisions have to be taken by the CEO or the organization board. That's a good one. And under okay, I see there's a question there. Where do I get the sticky notes? So Zama, if you look at the menu on the left, the far left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth item there is a sticky note. Maybe you can just take your mouse and hover it on each of those. You'll get to the sticky note. You click on it once. It will show the colors, the different colors of a sticky note. You choose your favorite and you click on it, and then it will allow you to type. And once you type and you're done, you just move it. You drag it to where you want to place it under the question that you are addressing. Okay. Right. How do you think you would benefit as an individual from the participation in the communities of practice? I'm so used to the word communication. I see networking and knowledge sharing. Yes, that's exactly what we want. There's lots of knowledge in the community, and we just want that to be shared with everyone so everyone can benefit. Learning from each other's challenges. Yeah. And so let's not make it lonely. Having to deal with challenges alone, whereas there's someone somewhere else who has already solved whatever we're struggling with. I think it will save us a lot of heartache and time. Okay. Lots and lots of contributing here. Yes, thank you, Daksha. She says, shared experiences will motivate collection practices. Yeah. There'll be a lot of positive collection practices. This is exciting. And I can judge by the sharing or the contributions, yeah, that people are as excited as we are. I see some people are very knowledgeable with the with the whiteboards. There are arrows there connecting the different elements. So cool. Different shapes there. Nice. Active and constant learning. Oh, that's a nice. Active and constant learning. So the learning won't be stopping. You won't be going to a course and you only learn for that period of time, and when you finish, that's it. You even forget afterwards, to be honest. But when the learning is active and constant, there's no forgetting. And it's exciting. You know. A safe space, that's a big one. It will definitely be a safe space. Like Sean said, we won't be recording. Everyone will be taking their own notes. So there's no reporting of people and what they said in the sessions in any way. Yeah, it does look like most people are finished. I think it's only the making things pretty and moving them around that's left. So thank you everyone for your contributions. This is so helpful, so important that we hear from you. We need to hear what's going on in your mind. So this is very good. Thank you so much. We are going to take a break. Thank you, everyone. See you at 27 past 10.
So that was very, very interesting for me. I spent my tea time looking at the answers, and you can all see what's there. So I think the first question, is there anything that you think you would struggle with to participate? So if we have 2 sessions a month, each of them is 2 hours long, what would you struggle with? And I think the common theme there is time. So time and workload. So and we do know that in a lot of the collections there is a shortage of staff. There just aren't enough people to do all the work. So I understand that. But I think you'll see the benefits. And so when you do this kind of thing, you have to think about the cost benefit analysis. So the cost for you is the time. So it's taking time for you to go to the COP, and it's taking you away from pressures and the work that you have to do. And you have to weigh up the benefits. So will there be a greater benefit to participating versus not participating? And if you think about it, if we go with this model of 2 hours, 2-hour sessions twice a month, that is 4 hours a month of your time. And what percentage of your time allocation is that in a month? Let's see if anyone can get it in the chat. Put in the chat. So 4 hours a month, what percentage of your time would the COP take? Let's see who can get it right first. Let's check your math skills here. I had to use the calculator, but you can use the calculator. Yep, let's see. 4 hours in a month, what percentage of your time, your work time, will that be? Put it in the chat. Nobody's coming up with an answer. There we go. Winston, well done. Well done, Natasha. Christian, did you use your calculator? Maybe, yeah. Maybe Christian doesn't work very many hours in a month. Or maybe he work. No, I know. No, I'm being the bad maths person now. He works more hours than he's supposed to in a month. Okay, so the correct answer is, as Natasha and Winston said, it's 2.5% of your work time in a month. So your normal people, Christian, work 40 hours a week. 4 weeks, that's 160 hours. And so this would be 4 hours of 160. And that works out to 2.5% of your time. So you've got to think it's actually just a very small amount of time in a month, you know. But what would the benefits be? And then you look at the next board there. So the network and sharing of knowledge and learning from others. So if you sit down and try and solve a problem on your own, it's going to take you far longer than going to the COP and saying, how did somebody do this? And you'll get the answer. Otherwise, you're going to sit there on your own, struggling, or you might be doing something that, in a way that takes you a long time, and you could go to the community of practice and learn. Oh, there's a much quicker way to do this. And so you've actually saved yourself probably hundreds of hours by just learning from others. And other people will tell you about where they failed. And so you learn from their mistakes and you don't make the same mistake. I mean, Ian has developed, and I don't know if he's released it yet, but an incredible way of making labels so quickly that it will save you, I don't know, months of work. So that's the kind of benefits in terms of weighing up what's the cost. My 4 hours a month, but we can talk about it. So I think the concern for us was that, if you only go 2 hours or 1 hour in a month, can you really build a community when you're spending maybe 8 hours in a year together? Is that really a community? Or is it just, it's a quick thing here and there? So I think we have to, that's why it might sound if you're really going to learn and you're really going to make this beneficial, then I think that the time has to be there. So if you look at the benefits, there's lots: learning from others' challenges, networking and sharing of knowledge, hearing how others overcome their challenges, gaining new ideas. So there's lots. And then you look at the next whiteboard as well. So what excites you? It's a safe space. It's the learning, constant learning. And think about the benefit of the knowledge that you gain. And when we were talking about the COP, we realized that it's not only junior staff. And I said, if I go to that COP, I will learn, even though I'm ancient, I will learn new things, because that's how it works, because you've got a whole community with different experiences. And so everybody, it doesn't matter how old or how many years working experience or what qualification you've got, you will learn something. And it's great to be learning all the time. So I think that is a very positive thing that people are finding exciting, is that ongoing learning, just developing yourself. If we go back to the first one, what will you struggle with? The issue about the technical, the connectivity, I think we'd need to get a better understanding of whether it's something to do with an institutional connection. Is it a permanent thing, or is it just that, we all deal with sometimes the internet are not great. So we'll need to get some more input on that. And then there was also a comment here that I did think was a very valid kind of concern: the amalgamation. Some institutions are amalgamating and there's uncertainty. I don't know what's happening, so I'm feeling uncertain. And I think we all live with that, you go through times of that uncertainty, but don't let uncertainty be the obstacle. At some point, it may really become an obstacle, but until then, just do what you can. And we'll see. If people think that it will help, we can write a letter to the CEOs or the top management of institutions, explaining to them what the COP is about, and encouraging them to encourage staff and to make the time available, because it will benefit the institution. It's not only about benefiting individuals. It will help institutions to have better cared for collections. So if you have good staff who are knowledgeable and can solve problems quickly by calling on their network, it benefits the institution. So that is something we can do to maybe help free up some space. There's somebody who says September is already full with conferences. So Sean, we might need to schedule only one for September to ease us in. I know it's Heritage Month, and so people have an unusually high load of things happening. And then somebody says, I'm already part of a COP, so then it's balancing, it's trying to see, is there benefit to spending another 2 hours of the month doing another session? So yeah, so this will be ongoing. We've got to have these discussions. As Sean said, we'll reflect on how it's working, whether we need to change anything. It's what we've made a suggestion about the times, but I would be reluctant to actually to reduce it too much. But we can see what comes out. Okay, so thanks very much for that input. I think we will save it. Chanel will save it, just so that we have a record to go back to. And now we can carry on with our program. I think the next thing is really very exciting. I felt really excited when Christian and Adrian showed us this tracking tool. I just can't believe how clever they are to have developed it. So I'll hand over.
Thank you, Michelle, for the introduction there. Yeah. So I'd like to introduce you to the collection tracking tool. This is a tool that has been developed with inside of the Hub team. But it's because of all of your efforts that we've had the information and the data available to do this. So this is a community effort that we've put together here. And I hope you find value in the collection status tracking tool. What I want to do today is just go take you through the basics of the tool, a little bit of an introduction, and then we'll do a live demonstration of the tool and its functionality so that you can see how it works. And then within the next few weeks, we'll be rolling out the tool at the different collections and institutions. So the tool is an online tool basically to monitor and track the status of the collection management and curation practices and standards. The tool is based on the NSCF Collection Management Conservation Manual released in 2021, which outlines the community agreed standards for natural science collection management in South Africa. It's a streamlined version of the original Iqoqwana Collections Assessment Questionnaire designed to be both practical and user-friendly. It can be applied to a single collection or group of collections managed as a single unit. Provides institutions with valuable real-time insights about the collections to support strategic planning, resource allocation, reporting, and the continuous improvement of collection management and curation practices. It's intended to identify areas in most need of attention within your institution, so basically guiding the collection-specific curation and management plans. The tool aims to reduce the burden on already constrained collection staff while safeguarding the collections themselves. It facilitates community collaboration to address issues and bring the collections up to the appropriate standards. Collection management tips provided in the tool are expected to enhance learning outcomes and contribute to long-term preservation of our collections, as well as support the staff responsible for the care, while fostering a common understanding of collection management. So if we speak the same language, we can identify the same issues and find solutions for the same problems. Ongoing updates by collection institutions according to progress on meeting standards set in the NSCF manual, for example. Now, how the tool works basically is there will be a specific collection link that will be provided to you by the Curations Collection Management Specialist on a quarterly basis or more frequently as required. This information will then be accessed by the NSCF to reflect the status of the collections within the reporting period. Now the tool works very basically at sort of the mechanics of the tool I'll discuss now, as well as how the form looks and the dashboard features and interface. So the sort of underlying mechanisms or what's happening in the background is three elements, sort of the Google Forms, Google Sheets, and the Google Apps scripts. And information bounces from the Google Forms through app scripts back to the Google Sheet, and sometimes information is coming from the sheet going to the form. So this is all happening in the background where we're using JavaScript to manipulate the information. And this is in real time. So when you submit your information to us through the Google form, all of the calculations happen. And it takes about 5 or so minutes for these calculations to complete, and then you will have your updated statuses for your collections. This information is then transferred over to the Google Data Studio, and then eventually, which was the old sort of name for what is now called Looker Studio, where the visualizations are presented to the user. Now, the tracking tool form, basically, if you look at it, is standard Google form, and you'll see there's information here that you'll include. Now, it is to the benefit of the institution and its collections that the tool is regularly updated with accurate information. The information therefore feeds from the form into the different sections of the tool, as you can see here, and this would be the overview page that's displayed on the screen at the moment. Now, the questionnaire is divided into 10 sections, each corresponding to one of 3 key collection assessment categories: implementation, risk, and documentation. In order to submit the form, all sections must be completed. If there were no updates in a specific section, you can leave the answers as they are. If updates are needed, and change to the appropriate responses. So how this works is when you access the questionnaire link, you will see that your most recent submission will already be pre-populated in the form. And therefore, it takes all of the effort out of filling out these forms over and over and over again. You will basically just make your 1 or 2 changes and then submit the form. All responses then are analyzed in real time, as I've said earlier, and the actual dashboard is updated automatically after about 15 minutes. The dashboard provides immediate insights into the current status of collections, including detailed metrics for each key component and links to resources related to relevant categories and their recommended standards. The tool serves as a framework for assessing collections and a practical resource for reporting PDF reports. For reporting. So PDF reports can be generated, which basically provides a comprehensive visual overview of the collection status at that point in time. And then, as stated earlier, this information will then be reported on quarterly by the NSCF as well. So if you want an updated or most recent reflection of your collection status, it is of interest of you to update this at least quarterly. Now, basically how the sort of conceptual process workflow works of how you would use this tool, if we had to use it in a collection, is once you receive your link from the Curation Collection Management Specialist, you'll then access the Google form, review the form sections, assess the amount of resources you would need, whether you not need to be looking at scheduling or if the staff involved are going to require training for the job. Then planning and establishing timelines would be important, after which tasks can be prioritized, implemented. And then after implementation of these changes or updates to your collection, you can then proceed again to the Google form link, which will be available within the dashboard tool. After you've completed what's changed, you can submit that form and then navigate back to the dashboard after about 15 or so minutes. There you can review the collection metrics. Now, if you're unclear about what this means, you can contact the NSCF or consult the collection management manual. If you understand what's going on, you could either download the PDF report, then sit down, review and interpret the tracking tool results. Then you can again identify potential actions and next steps, after which you would then update your curation and management plans in the long term for how you would be tackling these issues. Report on it if you like, and then the NSCF will be extracting that collection status information quarterly or so. A very basic sort of process here, but this is how the tool can be used or incorporated into this type of workflow for identifying issues within the collection and finding either mitigation measures or solutions to these problems. So now I'm going to show you the practical demonstration of the tool. Basically what we're going to be looking at is a live view of this tool. So we'll go into the demonstration here, and then now you can see the sort of front page of the tracking tool as you load in. The front page contains a link to the Collection Management and Conservation Manual, but also to the Collection Status Tracking Tool Manual, which you might find useful when working with the tool. And this will be available to you as soon as you receive your dashboard. So there's a few pages that we're going to go through here in order to show you what's happening. Basically, there's an overview page. And the first overview page contains information for your institution. And the averages that you see here is the averages across all of the collections housed within the institution. This first piece that you see here on the screen indicates the percentages across the board. So this is 86% for all implementation, for all collections. So that's quite high. All collections scored 77% for documentation, institutional documents, etc. Okay, so this just gives you this. The next is a tree map, and this section here just gives you a slight breakdown of what's inside of the implementation or documentation, for example. And this works on the basis of your highest values being green, in this case 95.45% for the collection space and organization, and your lowest values being red, in this case 75% for risk monitoring. So this doesn't follow the color coding in the reports. What it does is it allows you to quickly have a look at what is the lowest scoring sections within each of the categories across your collections, and therefore that can be tackled together as an institution. Then the last part here is just a sort of like sort of a display of the different sort of submissions or updates that has been submitted to the tool. And you can see here that over time it does indicate to you the components and how they contribute to this. So in this case, the institutional documents score 100, and that's quite good. And documentation collections. If we move on to the next one, you'll see that the values do change, and that affects this yellow value, which is the overall percentage of all of the categories. Okay, so this does look quite good. Then when you go to the implementation section, this is where we're going to go more specific. If there's multiple collections in your institution here, you will find a breakdown of these. And on the implementation page, there's a few things. We indicate the number of staff involved in the collections, the number of questions relevant to this section, as well as the overall percentage. Below this, we've got the at-risk indicator, and this sort of just indicates the number of not implemented questions, meaning that these have received zero attention. And for this sort of institution, that's at 6.6%, so it's quite low, and there's only a few things that are still outstanding that requires attention and could, while working on, be moved to partly implemented, for example. What's interesting about the dashboard here is that everything is interactive. The section here, you will select your collections. Here you'll see an average trend line, at least of the general implementation percentage across all of the collections that can be compared to the individual collections. Now, when you select a collection here, collection G, what will happen is the rest of the values on the page will filter, and you will only see the values associated with collection G. If you want to go deeper into this red collection space and organization section, you'll select that. And this is also going to filter even deeper and showing that one question is related to that in collection space and organization. And this says what proportion of your containers are overfull in terms of specimens, more than 30% of the volume. So it was more than 50%, which is a risky situation. And here you can sort of identify or see which question. If you go to collection H, this selection might change depending on the sort of like the subset that you're working with. So if you are looking at the risk monitoring response, you want to know what's going on here. There should be 2 questions, overall 75% for this collection. Now this works both ways, and you can just sort of reset the format if you want to do new filters. But if you are interested in which collections are dealing with the risk of specimen data and image management, for example, you select that, and this will now also filter the rest. And you can see in this case it's all of the collections, and it's only one question that deals with that. So you can see there's only a few questions in this sort of demo collection that actually can be isolated and receive some attention. This also works for the questions in the bottom here, so you could scroll through and select a question if office space is adequate. Once you select this question, again, we'll see a subset, and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all of the collections are here again, and for this question, everything seems to be fine. Now, each of the questions contain the original response last submitted. Also a tip, and this just gives you an idea of what could be expected of this, or potentially how would you address this issue. And then next to that, there's a resource link. Once you click on the resource link here, it will open up a new page within a Google Drive. And here, resources can be added by all collections that would be available to all of the collections that might pertain or relate to that. This could be literature sourced or interesting links. Going to the documentation section, what you will see here is, apologies, a slightly different layout. We have the number of required documents for the section, then a percentage score, not an at-risk score. So this is just the percentage documents that have been completed, and for this it's 76.7. You can see that over time the documents have sort of gone down, and this could be that some are in review or requiring further development, or some have been retracted due to changes. Okay, so you can do that. Again, here there's the option to subset, select a value, and then to see what's happening. And you'll see the required documents section here in the documentation section slightly different. We do link to templates, and these templates will be added as time goes by. But this does allow you to select things like the DFFE registration homepage is just a click away. And these resources and links can be improved over time to make them better. Same with things like PDFs. In this case, we'll open up the OSH Act, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, that people can use when dealing with any health and safety stuff inside of their collections to get some guidance. Then the collections section of the documentation again allows us to select between collections, and here for overall collections the percentage score is 90. If we go through here, we'll see that we've got collection E, and you'll see the value change here to 86.9. So that's one of the lowest ones. Same as the previous section, there's the documents, but also a link to potential templates or resources that we'll add as time goes by. Then the risk section of the tracking tool, again, works slightly differently. Here we have got a controlled sort of like dial here that indicates how much of the risks have been controlled at least. As you can see here, it's 88.1 for this institution. If we go to collection G here, it goes to 88.6. Okay. Again, you can filter and then get a subset of these questions. So for water damage, let's select that. There's only one question related to this, and this is about specimens standing on the floor. And this also then links to a folder that contains information about collection risks and things like that. Here you can see it's only a subset of the collections that have water damage. If we were to select the other one, we might see addition of more, but no, not in this case. This is for wet collections, and there's also one for dry collections. Information on these pages mean the same. Again, you can select and a question, for example, to see what's happening around that question. In this case, there's a high priority that loans have not been returned for more than 5 or 10 years, and that is a high risk in all of these collections, for example. Now, since this is a demo collection, it sort of looks very similar, but I'll show you when we submit an update just what the difference would be and how it would change the actual values. Then finally, you have the collection status update page, and this page here gives you an indication of the number of collections you have that have submitted updates. You can select the data range if you only want to look at specific time intervals. There's been 12 submissions by one individual, and here you'll just see the sizes of the collection based on the number of submissions being indicated in this tree map here. On the side here, you'll find the last submission that you've submitted for each of the collections. This could be multiple collection E's and then a collection B, for example, so it just depends on when you submit and if you submit often. And then you also have the current users that are available that work on the tool and that contribute to the different sort of updates to the status of the collection. If you want to make an update here, basically you select one of these pre-filled links, and that's going to open a page, the Google form. And what you'll see here is you'll select your email address just to confirm the user. The institution and the collection will already be pre-populated because you've selected collection E. But if you were to say you want to make an update to collection A, you just change that. And what's interesting now, because it's a pre-filled link, all of the information will already be populated here. So we can just go through this very briefly and see if there's anything that we need to change in collection A. And as you can see, I'm scrolling through. This doesn't take more than a minute to go through if you know what you want to update. If you are going through this gradually because you've made a lot of different updates, then you can take your time. And what's interesting also is you've got the ability to submit your documents through the Google form as well. So if you are working on new documents, or if you've got documents that you would like to submit for review, you can then submit it inside of the tool. And this sort of starts on page 10, where we do have the option to select documents. So here you can see that if you said not started, we'll change that, and we'll also change that to not started. We want to affect the values of the document so that you can see how the update works. But if you were to change something to developed, you can then add a file here, and that would be uploaded, dragged or dropped into the space, and will be sent to a folder where the NSCF team have access to it to look at these documents and confirm. Then the final page sort of here, before we do the last submission, we'll also change a few things here. This is for collection A. And this should push down the overall percentage a little bit because of all of the no's. And then we can submit. So once we submit the form, what you'll see is there's the option to see previous responses, edit your responses, or submit another response. So if you are going to submit another response, you have to remember that the pre-filled link will not work. So I would rather access another link from the tracking tool dashboard. And this is just how Google Forms work. You can edit your response if you realized you've made a mistake. And you can also see previous responses. So selecting previous responses will open up the sort of Google Forms display for graphs. And this information could be useful to you outside of the tracking tool. This is a built-in function of Google Forms where you can get different sort of pie charts and bar graphs based on the responses for your collection. So everyone will be able to see this, and this will be available for each of the collections. And just a sort of a very quick sort of overview of each of the questions and how that's distributed if you want to know that. And these visualizations are not really available within the dashboard in this way, but you can access them here if you are keen for pulling this into reports and things like that. Once the information is submitted, it takes about 5 minutes or so for the calculations to complete. So while that's running, there's also a tab here on the collection update or status update section for managing the users. So how the dashboard works is that your email address will allow you access to view the dashboard. And therefore, all users that are going to view or interact with the dashboard need to add their email addresses here. So initially, we will pre-populate this with some individuals if possible. But if you want to add new individuals or remove access for individuals, let's say somebody's retiring or moving on to a new job, you don't want them to have access to the dashboard anymore, you can just select the button here and request that access is updated. Okay, this will send a link to the relevant person that needs to go to that dashboard and either remove access from an individual or add an individual to give them access to that. So if we go back to the overview page now, what we will see, and remember we made some changes here and there, we are just going to wait around a second or two for the calculations to finish. Now the dashboard is something that you can access on a daily basis if you are going to be making daily updates. Although I would suggest that you rather sort of use the dashboard, identify something, tackle it, sort it out, and then update the dashboard as you go along. So generally speaking, when you want to refresh the dashboard, there's a button here and you can just sort of refresh the data and we'll have a look. If we see anything new here, we do see that you see 77 for the documentation here. It's that the institutional documents have dropped to 60%. And that's due to the updates that we've made to that one collection. Now this means that if you go to the documentation section here of collections, where we will actually see the difference in the status here, and we can also press the refresh button, it should work. I think we made changes to collection A and you see that it's gone down to 77. Here you will also see that on the sort of basics that when you do make updates to a single collection, that affects the overall collection. We've lost a percentage here, for example. So yeah, so the updates are quite fast. Once you click on collection update, you'll see a bit more reds and stuff here because of the stuff that we've removed from each of the sections. So it's quite nice. It's a nice tool to have, but it's something that you either will use or not use. To me, I think it's quite valuable. So thanks a lot, and I hope you enjoy. If you've got any other questions, you're welcome to contact us, and we will show you how to work with the tool when we do roll it out at the different institutions. Thanks a lot.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Christian. I think he did a very good job of going into the details just to make sure that we all understand what's going on. It's a very complex subject. It's a whole new concept. And so it might be a bit overwhelming, but I hope that the explanations that Christian has already started to explain helped to make us feel at least a little less overwhelmed. So we need your input currently. We are going to go back to the whiteboard and we have these 3 questions. So the first one, we just want to know, after seeing the tracking tool that was presented now, how does it make you feel? And the second one, we want to know, do you think that you will use this tool? And if yes, how often do you think you are going to use it? And the final one, you can just tell us, I think my institution will benefit from this tool because. Just let us know that. Chanel is going to take us to the whiteboard now. The process is still the same as we did last time. You find a sticky note on the left side of the page. On the navigation tools there, you select the sticky note, you select your color, and you click on it, you write your answer, and you move it to where you want it to go. You can address whatever question that you want to start with on the page. I just wanted to also open it up to whoever wants to say something, whatever it is, whatever feedback you'd like to offer. It doesn't have to be what is addressed on the questions, But if you feel that you want to say something in response to the tracking tool and the presentation, please feel free to unmute and speak as we are populating the whiteboard. You can just unmute whenever you want to speak. It can also be just an appreciation. If you have an appreciation, I can tell you the first time I saw the tool, I was amazed. I couldn't believe that there are actually people that can work to create something so amazing that we've never seen before. It's not like there's a blueprint somewhere that they used to develop this. So yeah, if you have any appreciation for the team, if you have maybe even a concern that you might have.
I can only say, wow, thank you. And it looks so user-friendly.
Yes, it's very user-friendly. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you so much for that. That's encouraging. I see there are, yes, definitely, we are going to use the tool. That's music to my ears. We wouldn't want such work to go to waste, would we? I see there's a comment on the chat by Anna Marie. Wow, awesome tool. I can agree with you on that. Thank you, Anna Marie. I see there's a comment there under the last question. Oh, it's still continuing. Okay, I'll read that later then. This is exactly what we need. That's an awesome response. I see a lot of words, a lot of the use of the word optimistic. So I can agree that a word that I can use myself is this kind of gives us a sense of hope, that there is something that we can do to fix the problems that we currently have. Anyone who may have something to say, please feel free to just unmute your mic and say that.
Congratulations, and we will certainly be using it. Thank you. We look forward to that.
Thank you, Mary. That's a definitely, so there's no doubt. I see a lot of positive feedback on the whiteboard. Even if you have some negative feedback or some concerns, feel free to be free to share that. It's a safe space. So do share that. Oh, I see a word. Terrified that my supervisor will get hold of this. That's a good one. I guess it's going to encourage accountability, won't it? Oh, there's a nice one there. We'll tackle it as a collective, celebrate achievements across all departments. That's a good point. It's a very good way of tracking what's going on in the collections and use it to celebrate people that are doing a great job. No bias, only fairness, I guess. I see someone would like to use it once a month. This is very valuable. Thank you so much. Looks like there's a bit of a die down on the activity on the whiteboard. So it looks like most people have contributed, and we can maybe move on let's give it a minute just to make sure. The floor is still open for anyone who has something that they would like to say audibly. We wouldn't want you to go back home or to go back to work with a heavy heart, whereas you have something that you'd like to release. Okay. I think we are done. Thank you so much for your input. We are going to look through this and it's going to be saved. It's a very important record that we're going to use also to just improve where we need to improve. So thank you so much. Michelle?
Yeah, so I do think there were some good points there. I'm very glad that people are so excited about it. I thought people might find it quite overwhelming. So because it is quite a lot. And I do think that sort of exploring and fiddling with it. So I think that that's something, Christian and Adrian, we're going to have to think about. I suppose you can just reset. So you could fiddle around with it and just see how it all works. And then you just have to reset. So people will need to practice.
Basically, yeah. So the reset is when you sort of maybe lose track, you're doing a lot of different filters that you are working or drilling down, as that would refer to within data, the dashboard. So normally what you do is if you click on a component, if you want to deactivate the component after you've looked at it, you just click on it again and it will take you back to the standard sort of view. But if you are interacting with multiple pages, the fastest to get everything back to standard is just to press the reset button, and it's just resetting your the actions that you've selected for the drill downs. If you want to just see if there's new data available, you'll select the refresh data button.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just, people will want to fiddle and not do something seriously. To get the hang of it and how it all works. And so I think that we'll have to just recognize that. And we do have to put in place something. So if people are stuck or it's not working, we'll have to have a contact where people can get help, support and help.
There's a question, will private institutions be able to use the tool? Or is it just the institutions that are a part of the NSCF only? Officially?
Yeah, I don't think that there's anything against that happening. Especially because I think the Afrobags people are kind of an unofficial almost participant. The only thing is that your questionnaire wouldn't be populated. So, you know, for the other collections, they'll get their link, and it'll be the existing answers from the collections assessment. If we didn't assess a collection, then it won't, the information won't be there. Christian?
Yeah, just to add to what Michelle is saying, yeah, so the you at any moment in time, if you want to add a new collection, for example, maybe you acquire a collection that you want to add and assess throughout this period, you can do that. It does require, like Michelle said, for you to complete the actual entire form, but that would be like a self-assessment that you've already done. So the baseline for the tool would be moderated assessment data, which you will then update. And if you want to add new collections, that's possible as well. And then that becomes the starting point for all subsequent updates to that collection. So it's very easy to add new collections. It's just not easy to care for them over a long time.
And a new institution, you'll just have to create a form for them. And a link.
Yeah, so we just sort of scale that to a new institution. It doesn't take too long.
Okay, because I think it'll be the same for the Sandparks collections. We didn't do the full assessment, and there's some new collections there. And yeah, I think, you know, there will be other institutions that, well, not there will, there could very well be other institutions that are not part of the NSCF network yet, or maybe won't be, but they may be interested. So it's quite a, it's quite a dilemma. So I said to the Hub team the other day when I saw this, you know, what they've done is they've developed a very valuable product. And it could be used by institutions globally. I mean, as Christian said, nobody's got this. Nobody's developed it. It's the first of its kind that we know about in the world. And so the Department of Science and Innovation, as our funders, have been pushing us very hard to be innovative and to create new things. And I think we've done it. Could we sell it? I don't know. We talked about that. We said maybe it's got, we would never sell it to our community, of course. But, you know, if the rich American institutions wanted to use it, would we just give it to them, or would we try and make some money? So we don't know yet. But yeah, it is something new that has been created by the NSCF community, and of course with the expertise. So we'll have to think about that. We haven't really gone into it very carefully, thinking about what to do next with it in terms of beyond our network. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite surprised. Nobody seemed to be worried about, well, how do you know that the information that the updates are accurate? So Christian just cheated there, and he just ticked all the documents for the institution as being completed. So easy to do that, and you can just change all those oranges or reds to greens. So I mean, that's, you know, it is, you can have moderation in your own institution, I guess, you know, if you're the supervisor or the senior collection manager or whoever could check documents, you could check practice. But it's really it's for your own, you know, it doesn't help you to capture inaccurate information. It's like when you do an exercise program. If you say you've done your exercise and you haven't really, you're not only it doesn't help. Okay. I don't know if there's any other questions or comments. I see my internet is a bit unstable too. You share the presentation about the tool. So I think we can do that. We probably can share this whole, the presentation that was given today. I think we could. Any other questions, comments on the tool? Okay. Doesn't look like it, but you can send us if you've got questions that come up later. All right. So now I think it's fully.
Thank you, Michelle. So now it has been mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, there was a mention about the discussion forum. It was actually mentioned by Sean in his presentation. And so we just wanted to bring an introduction to the discussion forum and what that would look like. At this current moment, we cannot share any details, but it's just an intro because we're still working through that, trying to figure out what it's going to be. Okay, I see there's a question from Michelle Smith regarding the tool. Is there a manual for it? Yes, there'll be a manual. Christian and Adrian are working on that. I'm just not sure if it's already up now, but when you get your links, you're going to have access to it. Christian can come in if, okay, yes, he has covered that. So the discussion forum, it's going to be a digital platform and it's going to be in the on the NSCF website. So that's how you're going to access it on the NSCF website. It will be built into the NSCF website. So as a participant, you're going to discuss topics related to collections. You're also going to make topic recommendations. So if you feel like the topics that are already there, when you start to have access to the discussion forum, if they don't include what you feel needs to be included or needs to be covered, you can make recommendations. We are going to be more clear once it is ready on how you can make that recommendations, whether you can add a topic yourself or whether you need to come through the NSCF hub for them to add that topic for you. You can post questions about, you can pose questions that others in the community can answer. So if you have a question or if you have a concern, if you have something that you are struggling with, you can pose that question, you can share your struggles and have other people in the community help you or answer you or make it clear for you or give you direction. And also it's also for engagement with one another as a community. So basically what we are currently doing in the WhatsApp group, we can take that into the discussion forum. Like Michelle mentioned, we can't keep track and we can't keep what has been shared or what has been discussed. But with this discussion forum, we are going to be able to even go back to questions that were covered long ago. We're going to have a record of everything. And if you maybe have a question to something that was covered long ago, you can just go to that section, you look for your specific question, and you can find the answer that was provided there. And if it doesn't answer you, then you can ask a question that is specific to what you need at that moment. So the hub team may also use it to disseminate information about the communities of practice. So it's going to form part also of the communities of practice once we have it ready and once we have started with the communities of practice. So that's where you need to go for the communities of practice, as well as other things that you're dealing with. And then the list of the communities of practice topics may be posted there for you to refer to. So like it was mentioned, we are going to be covering different topics during the communities of practice sessions, and those can then be connected to what is listed on the discussion forum. So these two are going to work together, and they're going to benefit from one another. That's it regarding the discussion forum. We can move to the next section. We are also coming to the end. Our time is quite limited. So I'll hand over to the next person.
Hi again, colleagues. So the provisional date for the first session was set for the 4th of September from 11 to 1. But having now looked at the comments on the whiteboard, it seems we might have to move this a bit further back just to make provision for the conferences and things that you guys might be attending during September. We were supposed to decide on the frequency as well, following the whiteboard discussions and the duration. But I will let everyone know once again what the next date is. I'm not going to set it for the 4th anymore. I just want to get some more feedback from both the hub team and the rest of the community as well before I finalize the dates for the first session. Yeah, I see Kirsten also commented that summer is the first week of September. So it doesn't look very plausible to host it in that first week.
And it's spinach. It's the Society for the Preservation of Natural History Collections in Iqoqwana. I'm going to be doing night, or I don't know, midnight sessions in Okinawa. And a BioBlitz with September. So I think it's, you know, it's the reality that we're never going to find a perfect time when no one's got anything happening. We know that this, you know, I mean, we all do such different things. So we can only find the best possible dates. And maybe it needs to be early October for that first date. I don't know. Maybe we can do a doodle poll or something for everybody to tell us when will be best. So either the last week of September, maybe, so after Heritage Day. That might be an option. But let's do a doodle poll, I think, or something like that to just get some input on when. But yeah, I think that would be next week. Or poll on the WhatsApp group. Yeah, Chanel, if you can maybe do that, that might be better. But not next week. Okay. End of our session. I think it's been a very intense half hours where we've thrown a lot of information at you, and you've given us a lot of valuable input on everything. So I hope that you enjoyed all being back together again virtually and seeing what we've been working on. I hope people have seen the overall report from the collections assessment, so you have a broad understanding of the state of collection management and curation practice, and you've seen the recommendations in either of those reports, because then I think it gives you some kind of context for what we are doing moving forward. Why are we having a discussion forum? Why are we having communities of practice? And why is this tracking tool so important? So if you haven't seen those reports and you would like to, then you can let us know. We can send them to you. I don't know how widely everything was distributed. But yeah, so I think from my side, just to say thank you to everyone who participated. It's been a very good turnout, so I'm very happy about that. And thanks to the presenters, to Sean and Christian and Fulu, and for Chanel organizing everything for us as usual, getting everything together. So I think that's it. Fulu, anything from you or Chanel or Christian or Sean? No? No? Okay, so we're finishing exactly on time, 1 minute late. But thanks very much, everybody, and well done to the presenters. Thanks a lot. And yeah, we'll be in contact and hopefully seeing more of everybody again now when things start happening. Thank you. Thanks.